Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Polly Means Business. Today I'm joined by Fiona O'Sullivan. She's the founder of The Right Field. She owns a brand voice copy boutique where she's a copywriter that helps empower women to find their voice within their business. Fiona.
Hello, darling.
How are you, darling?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very well. Welcome to the Polly Means Business podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. I have wanted to have you in this hot seat speaking to me since I started this podcast because you are just such a wealth of knowledge. You're anything to do with words, literacy, copywriting. Yeah, you're our girl. So
I do love the words.
you do. Oh my gosh, you're so articulate. It's just beautiful to hear you speak.
Thank you,
So,
Polly.
Fiona, I'm going to hand it over to you. Let's tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I'm a copywriter and brand voice mentor. My business is The Right Field, which is a brand voice boutique. And that was created to help women to grow their businesses, to show up, talk about what they do with absolute confidence, and also grow their businesses at the same time. When people ask me to explain it in more simple terms, I just tell them that I tell stories.
Yeah.
So I tune into the stories that women have within them, the stories of their businesses, and I help them to tell those stories. Because if there's anyone who's listening to this who's been in business before and has got that dreaded email or message from a website developer, for example, saying, right, we've done the design, now send me 3 pages about you and your business, you just freeze.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
articulating your brand voice is something that I never really thought about. You know, it's kind of easy to sometimes write something where you're using, we're using the correct spelling and you're using a little bit of spell check and you think, oh, that's okay. But actually, brand voice is a completely different thing. It's about, understanding and underpinning your ethos, your values, but having that come through in warmth, or if you want it to be more scientific. And that was something I never really thought about until I came across your Instagram. Which is fantastic.
I think you hit the nail on the head there with warmth, because a lot of the work that we've done together with your brand voice, it has been about the warmth and the personality and the purpose behind what you do. And sometimes people don't know that this is a service that exists. And unfortunately, sometimes you meet people who are just full to the brim with personality and passion, but you read their website or their socials or their blogs, and it actually reads as quite clinical, absolutely accurate, polished, wonderful, but it's not them. And sometimes people lose their own voice in their business communication because they are so consumed with wanting it to be professional and polished. But there is a way to keep all of that, but also make it authentically you. And that's the service that I provide.
Yeah, that is lovely. And that is actually exactly what you've said is so true. And I think for me, when I read somebody's, when you look at somebody's Instagram or you're looking at their website and you're trying to figure out who that person is behind their business, it's really interesting that a lot of people actually don't like being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So this is where words are so much more important, because if you're not going to be showing your face, you're not going to be doing the videos where you're going to be saying, hi, it's Polly, I've had a cup of tea this morning, or a glass of champagne,
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
More likely.
More likely. Yeah, exactly. Hair of the dog. But yeah, no, I think it's just absolutely superb because people can get that feel. And let's not forget, there are a lot of people who will find your website and not find your Instagram.
Yeah.
So, the website is that 24-hour business that's open at all times. People are scouring, the internet for everything these days. And what's the difference between, say, for example, me to somebody else? That brand voice can actually just, drawing that client in, helping them create a relationship with you, helping them understand you. That's what actually, you're actually bringing us custom.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of the different ways that people show up, and something that we've spoken about before is visibility. And visibility is important and it will get you noticed, but it's your brand voice that will help you to be remembered. And when we talk about visibility for women in business in particular, I think it's quite complex because you've got some people who are natural extroverts who love doing the behind the scenes footage. And like you, for example, you're very confident on the camera and that works really well for you. There are
Mm.
other people who are more extroverted, and I'd count myself as an introvert, sorry. And so for people who aren't natural extroverts, but who do value connection and communication, sometimes your words, your brand voice is a way that you can show up in a way that's more comfortable for you.
Mhm. But I feel like I know you say that you feel like you're introverted, but you're so
I've heard this
not to
before.
me. I know. You're like maybe it's like when you're with certain people, you let loose, or I don't know.
Well,
But every time, I know, but what I mean, every time I'm with you, you're so, yeah, you seem to be the most confident lady you seem to be such
yeah,
a ball of confidence. And you're so uplifting to other women,
thank
which is
you.
a really, really great attribute that you have as well. You have the ability to make people feel comfortable and confident in any given situation, which is really lovely.
Yeah, business and language can be hard for people, and some
Mm,
people come with their own limiting beliefs or blocks. And what you want to do is make your services accessible for people,
mhm,
so that they have the opportunity to build upon their confidence. There's nothing worse than investing in someone for business if you're outsourcing something, as we do, and for the person who you're outsourcing to make you feel like you're less than because you can't do the thing that you're employing them to do. I
mm,
guess when it comes to being an introvert or an extrovert, it's a spectrum, right? And none of us are completely on one end of the spectrum to the other all of the time. And the spectrum can be quite fluid. So by nature, I just love being at home, reading a book, doing my writing for my clients and chilling out and having some quiet time. But I'm also someone like you who values connection,
yes,
conversation at some of the events that we've been to. We've had
absolutely.
such a great time and we have let our hair down.
We have.
Um, but that's part of feeling really comfortable in connection.
Mm.
And I also think it's really important for women to have those kinds of spaces.
Absolutely. And that brings me on to the beauty and the brand
Yes.
event. So I'm sure some of the listeners have been following me. I've recently done some panel talking. I was a
Yeah.
panelist at
You
the
were a
most
fabulous
recent.
panelist.
Thank you so much. And something for me, actually, believe it or not, I find public speaking quite difficult, and I'm absolutely perfect one on one. And I love to talk about I mean, I can talk about anything, but when I sometimes am put on a spot in front of a lot of people, I can get that imposter syndrome that
Yeah.
kicks in, and I start almost tripping up on my words, and I find it difficult to understand. I'm almost thinking ahead, and I'm trying to fill those gaps in to try and get to the point.
Yeah.
And I know my boyfriend says this a lot, and he's like, my other half's like, just get to the point, Polly. And I'm going round the houses. Yeah.
I hear that too.
Oh, yeah. I think I've done that since I was a little girl.
I get
It's
told
just
that.
something, yeah, something I do. So, yeah, that's really interesting. But I love the events because it does give everybody a safe space. And I just find it so interesting. How did you come to start the right field? But also, like, how has it come to the space where it's about women and bringing women together? Because it's been like a journey where you've developed this now into this, it's not just about the right field now. It's actually about beauty and the brand. And it's about now bringing women together. And it's just fabulous. Just tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with beauty and the brand because that's the most recent, and then I'll go on to like
Sure.
the right field and how one thing led to another. So, um, with the right field, I was always very interested in growing the business to create further opportunities for women to grow in their confidence. So the
Mm,
services that I provide and my mentorship is all around providing women with the skills, the mentoring to feel more confident and show up and be the confident business leaders that they are. And I also wanted to create spaces for that, for women to connect, because that is something that just propels your confidence
mm,
immeasurably. So I think it was actually this time last year. It was November 2023. I was speaking to a business buddy over coffee, and I said, I've had I've had this idea that I'd quite like to grow the business a little bit to incorporate events so that I can help women.
Mm.
Um, and then I don't know, call it spirituality or putting it out into the universe or just sheer determination to make it happen. I then An opportunity then came up. I think it was 2 weeks later
No.
where I saw Karina, who is the female founder of Menagerie in Manchester, which is one of my favourite venues.
I've
So
seen this all over the
yeah,
socials.
it's
It's
gorgeous.
like pink,
Yeah,
glitzy, girly. I
yeah.
haven't had the opportunity to
Oh,
go,
yeah, we're
but
going.
we're going, yeah. I'm desperate to go. It's got like my name written all over it.
Yeah,
I mean, you know I'm all about pink.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
right up your
absolutely.
street.
Oh my God, yeah, it is. Absolutely.
So I saw this post that Karina had put out. I didn't know Karina, but I had visited the venue,
Sure.
and it was just such a wonderful thing. She said that she wanted to do a kickstart initiative for the beginning of 2024, where for the first 12 weeks of the year, she wanted to sponsor a female business owner to have a drinks reception there or a dinner.
You jumped on
Um,
that.
so
She was like, drinks,
yeah,
yes, I'm going. Get
yeah.
the girls
Well,
together. Who's going to
exactly.
say no?
Well, yeah. So there was this post came out, and then there was an opportunity to pitch to them to just put your proposal forward to
Mhm.
send it. So this I think now was December last year, and you know what it's like in December. There's so much going on. Your head's
Manic.
spinning, you're exhausted,
Yeah.
you're just trying to get through all of those things you need
We're
to
trying to
do.
convince everybody to stop buying each other Christmas
Yeah,
presents and just come
exactly.
round for a drink or go out for a
Exactly.
meal. Yeah,
Yeah, we
I
all just
know.
need to
We all
chill.
just need to, yeah,
Yeah,
we're all like, I
relax.
gotta get through this.
But we never do.
Yeah.
So I'd sent the email and then I forgot about it. And then I received a reply to say, we really like what you're about. We'd like to sponsor you for one of these events. And I just feel that act of another woman in business who I look at her and I think, oh my God, she's made it. She's fabulous. And
Sure.
she's fabulous in real life. Just that act of paying it forwards, there was something really special about that. So I had my first event in Manchester in February. And I used that as an opportunity to launch my The Right Field Women series, which you have featured on, which is just an opportunity for me through my platforms to spotlight one of my clients
Mhm.
every month, talk about the work that we've done, but just talk about how wonderful this woman in business is, because we're role modeling to other people about the possibilities all of the time. So that was the first event. I was speaking to a friend of mine, Roxy. So
Mhm.
Roxy Rosali
Fab.
she's gorgeous. So she did my eyebrows. So that's how I met Roxy, through eyebrow appointments. And
Mhm.
then
I mean, it's like, who are you gonna trust apart from your eyebrow gal?
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like
exactly.
a bond that can't be broken.
Yeah,
Like your
that
hairdresser.
trust, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a big
Your
deal.
Brazilian waxer, anyone.
Yeah, that's also a moment of
Yeah.
trust. So Roxy and I had been talking about business. She did my eyebrows. I wrote her rebrand for
Yeah.
her
Which is
business.
absolutely
Oh yeah,
amazing.
it's so like you,
Yeah.
so easy to work with. It's an absolute dream. So we were talking about the growth of our businesses, and we were talking about kind of where we wanted to go and the sense of purpose and mission we felt about
Mhm.
supporting other women. And then we decided to create Beauty in the Brand. So now all of the events are run under Beauty in the Brand.
Sure.
So the concept behind that is that Roxy is someone in the beauty industry and she is
Mhm.
gorgeous.
Mhm.
It's the beauty, and I bring the brand.
You're both
Um,
gorgeous.
oh, thank you. So it's we work a lot with women in the beauty and wellness space, but it's
Mhm.
not limited to women in beauty and wellness, because the concept is around prioritizing yourself and your
Mm.
wellness at the same time that you're building a business. And we know that sometimes all too often we can neglect ourselves in our businesses. So we wanted to create this idea of a collective. So women coming together, a sense of community, women hearing each other's real lived experiences,
Mhm.
being inspired by that, but also knowing that there's someone on the other end of the phone, a Zoom call, someone you can meet for a coffee because you've
Mhm.
met through this collective, that you can just share those difficult days, celebrate those wins. Um,
Absolutely.
so that's what the collective's all about. And we always said that we wanted to move beyond mentioning women's names in a room full of opportunities, which is fabulous. We wanted to take it a step further. We wanted to open up the room of opportunities, bring the women in, and then create this kind of ecosystem almost where we are constantly creating opportunities for each other
Sure.
through investing in each other's businesses, collaborations,
And
things like this.
it's very interesting. I've attended now 2 of the events, and I mean, I just had a baby, so I seriously was like I still went because I was like, "I need to do this."
Yeah.
And for me, when I went to your first event, I was actually quite nervous, and I actually, did you know that that was the first time I met, Lasadi as well? I brought along
You
a
said
friend.
that and I couldn't
I
believe
know.
it.
So I connected, and this is again, just want to touch on why these events are so important. Isn't it funny when you are a solopreneur? I mean, I have a team, but the amount of women where we touch base online, we become like basically insta besties.
Yeah.
However, we never meet up in real
Yeah.
life, okay? And it's amazing to have a space where we've got a business minded event where we can all have a bit of a giggle, but the overarching theme is that we're wanting to network and we all want some key takeaways from that.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, I felt, like, coming back, I wanted to always keep my foot in the business door. And I having that sort of, I don't know how to put this. It was like having another group of women, another community where people
That's
have your
it.
back. And there was a lot of ladies there who come from so many, A, different walks of life, and B, so many different areas of expertise within business. I mean, I think I sat next to this beautiful lady who, oh my, her aura was just so calming. And she's like a spiritual wellness coach.
Jade.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
I love her.
The soul
And
salon. Yeah.
oh, absolutely stunning lady. And then, and then you've got a sort of Smita who's a facialist doing sort of like celebs, all sorts of, and she's just and she's willing to share so much information.
Yeah.
She's pushed herself to do public speaking since coming to the events as
That's right.
well. And she's an absolute fountain of knowledge. And it's just so uplifting to meet women who are there to support one another. And even though we're all from different parts of the country, actually the distance that people travel. So the event last night that we went to, the Christmas party,
Yeah. It was fun.
oh, that was fun. I loved it. The amount of women who were like, you know what, it's taken me 2 hours to get here, but they wouldn't have missed it for the
I
world.
know.
I mean, the support that
Isn't that
you've
such a
got,
magical
how
thing?
does that make you feel?
Yeah, it kind of sometimes it renders me lost for words,
Mhm,
which is quite
mhm.
hard to do given the industry that I'm in. I'm all about the words. But sometimes the energy is great. The energy is uplifting and the energy just hits differently when you're in the room.
Mm,
Um, but sometimes after the events, I'll pause and I think, gosh, someone's just travelled from Northampton or Manchester to attend
mm,
this event.
yeah.
Um, and that's a lovely feeling for the community that we're building. But also just that sense that women are investing in themselves, they're investing in their networks. And there's something so special about that.
Mhm.
And I always say that a rising tide lifts all boats
Love
because
that. We need that
when
written
we
down.
uplift each other, when we are intentional about uplifting ourselves,
Mhm.
it just creates this uplifting energy.
Yeah.
And the impact of that can't be put into words. It's just magnetic. And we know from the events and the community that we're part of, with each of these events, there's someone who's working with someone else or collaborating or investing in each other's businesses. I thought recently, just kind of thinking about what's behind this, what can we attribute this to? And
Mm.
the development of the online space has been really, really interesting, and it's noisy, and it can lead us to compare, and it can be toxic.
And sometimes who's shouting the loudest?
Exactly.
Who's doing the craziest reel that's
Yeah,
got somebody from, I don't know, the USA liking it, but that's actually not your client?
exactly.
Yeah.
So it can all be a little bit mad. But also the opportunities are unlimited. Just the ability to connect with people and find people who cheer you on. And like you were saying about Lasardi,
Mm,
people who you've never actually met. And we have all of these positive short form interactions
mhm.
where we'll kind of catch up in the DMs or WhatsApp, and we'll comment on each other's posts to encourage each other and do all of that cheering.
Just the little love heart
Yeah,
likes. It's like you always know that person's there.
exactly.
It's just that lovely feeling of
Yeah,
a sense of that girl's got my back and she's 100% there with no malice, no underpinning,
yeah.
we're all just there for one another.
Yeah, it's just the feeling you get when someone else is cheering you on and someone else gets
Mm,
it.
mm,
So we have all of these short form interactions, but what we're actually craving is interaction and connection in the long form. And there's a
mm.
reason why people tune into podcasts like this.
Yeah,
People tune into the long form discussion. They like that depth. And also, when you meet someone face to face, you can really get into those discussions in a deeper way. So, the
you
face to
can.
face networking is something that is really special, and it makes all the difference.
It really does. Do you know what? Something I actually want to speak to you about, and
Go on.
I was just thinking this the other day. So many people are on this whole AI thing,
Mm,
writing their own captions,
yeah.
all this. How do you feel about that? And how obviously it's so funny because you've started the right field when we've got what is it? I can't even remember what it
Chat
is.
GPT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're coming up against the AI, but you're coming up trumps.
Yeah.
And why is that? It's because people resonate with what you're saying. I found you on Instagram just from looking at what yeah, at who you were, and I could sort of see your authenticity. How
Yeah.
funny is that your brand you're selling what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're encompassing what your service is. So that's why it's so easy for me to buy from you because I'm like, well, she's got her shit down.
Yeah. And
She knows it.
thank you. I
Yeah.
don't feel like that every day, but it's nice to hear that
Yeah,
that's the
she's
sense that
sassy
you
and she's
get.
got a brain.
Yeah. Um, I think I think there is a place for AI.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
There
not
must be
saying
because come on, it's here.
exactly. I'm not saying don't use it. So what I always say is that there are two ways that you can use a tool like ChatGPT. First of all, for blank page syndrome, if you've got an idea and you're thinking you just want an initial structure
Yeah.
to just kind of fill in those blanks on a page. So I think it's useful to use it for that purpose. I also think it's useful to use it for quality assurance. Say, for example, you've written a blog or a social media post
Mm.
and you might want to run it through ChatGPT to check for any technical errors, to ensure there's no repetition, or just to give you
A
a
flow.
version that's a little bit more concise. I think it's great for that. But that bit in the middle, that's got to be you.
Yeah.
Yes, use it for inspiration. Yes, at the end of the process, use it for quality assurance. But that bit in the middle, the bit that's made up of so much substance and depth, that needs to be you.
Mhm.
Because ultimately, branding is energy. It's felt.
It
I go back
is.
to what you say a moment ago that when we first connected, you got a sense of energy and authenticity from my page,
Mm.
and the feeling was mutual. Where people are leaning too far into ChatGPT,
Mm.
it's becoming a sea of sameness.
It is. And everything starts to sound like nestled. There's all those
Method,
weird
yeah.
words. Why is that always in there? I can't
Because
handle that. I'm
yeah,
like,
everyone's
why are we all
nestling.
nestling?
Yeah, stop nestling,
Stop,
please.
stop nestling.
Get a
Yeah,
thesaurus
I
and stop
know.
nestling. So ChatGPT, like I said, it
It's a
has its purpose
computerized, yeah.
and it has its preferred phrases.
Mm, mm,
And I'm not banning words
mhm.
like nestled, but to an aware eye,
Yeah.
So someone who's kind of looking at it and thinking, someone who's paying attention, like you clearly are, you
Yes.
start to spot it. You spot it with these keywords that it
Mm,
uses. You also spot it it can go down as kind of granular as the way that it
mm,
hyphenates. Um, and look, sometimes people aren't confident with
mhm.
their written language.
Yeah,
I've
I
got a
know, I
background in
understand that.
education. So
You have.
sometimes people need to get the help that they can get,
Sure.
but you need to make sure that you've got your own authenticity there. And that's when your brand voice comes in. And it doesn't always have to be super polished. It
Mm.
can be that little bit informal and relaxed. And actually, that resonates
Sometimes.
more.
Yeah, it does. I also how this is something that's just sprung to me. What is your like on a sort of like data basis, how do you find that you have like a certain age range of women who are coming to you for your services?
Mm.
Because I'd be very interested in seeing like, are young people finding that they're going to use chat GPT or whatever it is because they're of that TikTok generation. I don't know what I'm trying to think of. I mean, I'm a millennial, but I can't
Yeah.
think what the please forgive me. I know people know all the is it
Oh, all
we've
the
got
different
baby
terms.
boomers, we've got the what is it? The
You've
Gen
got Gen
Z?
Z.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking, is it, are they interested or are they all about visuals? Are they about the fast-paced TikToks? I'd be really interested. And I know you work within a school.
Hmm.
How are the children like, is the texting and the predictive text, is it affecting their grammar at school as well? Sorry, I've given you
Yeah.
like two questions here. Sorry. Got to get it
So,
out.
simple answer, yes. If we're
Okay.
thinking about the younger generations, um, everything's quick, everything's disposable,
Sure.
everything's short form. And you
In,
just look
out.
at TikTok and you consider what that's doing to people's attention spans. People are now just used to, and even us millennials do it.
Mm.
We're used to scrolling,
I
everything's
think I'm
quick.
gonna blame Tinder. I think it started with that.
Speak for
The
yourself.
flick on and the flick off,
Speak about
guys.
your own
Yeah, I
flicking.
mean, yeah. I mean, I think I think I may have completed Tinder at one point in my life. No.
Tick.
Yeah. Yeah, I think once you get to the end, you get a dinner at the Shard.
A bottomless brunch.
Yeah, 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 with Tom Hardy.
Bottomless Tinder.
No, but I think hang on, we digress. Where were we?
We're
Hang
talking
on.
about Generation
Talk about
Z.
Tom Hardy, my mind went. Yeah. So, yeah, going back to that, everything is really quick and fast. So, I think with the, it's all about flicking, if they're not capturing something within 4 seconds in a
Yeah,
TikTok, it's gone.
yeah,
And then they're holding their whole self worth on, how many likes they're getting.
I
But
know.
that engagement is not sometimes giving them sales. And
Yeah,
this is where I think
yeah,
as an older, I've been in business now for like 15 years. But the last 10 years, I've sort of been a clinic owner and had staff. And I think for me, what I've really noticed is that I get so many people around me doing exactly the same job as me. But I look at sometimes their promotional, their promotional copies, their website, how they're presenting themselves to their customers and their clients. And it's scruffy, it's messy. Instagram, TikTok says one thing, the website says another.
yeah,
Nothing is following through. Everything is all sort of here, there, and everywhere. And for me, I think I like everything to be very unified. I like the clients on every single touch point to feel that they are being met with the same voice, the same authenticity. So I would be so interested in knowing how, young people how they deem your services, or whether they would be like, I don't need that. I've got Chat GPT and I've got a TikTok account with however many followers, but you haven't got any clients coming in.
yeah. So
Yeah.
TikTok is great. Again, it serves its purpose.
Sure. Yeah.
To go back to the question that you first asked around like the age range of my clients, it does span from clients in their 20s
Yeah.
to women in their 60s.
Yeah.
And perhaps they want slightly different things from me. So I've had a younger woman in her 20s approach me because she wants more of the brand mentoring, that she wants
Yeah.
that guidance. And she's so self-aware, and also aware of the world around her, and that sometimes it can be a little bit kind of vacuous, too much focus on the aesthetics.
Mhm.
And she's really driven to make a change in the work that she does on social media as a micro influencer. And she just wanted someone to give her that guidance and provide that mentoring. Um, for the most part, the clients that I work with are millennials, actually, which is interesting
Mm.
because maybe you're naturally attracted to someone that you see your own likeness in because you've got that
Yes.
sense of familiarity. Um,
I feel like we may have watched Sex and the City and Friends.
exactly, exactly. We speak the same
We do.
language.
Yeah, we do.
Um, I'll also add, though, that even though my services are predominantly marketed to female founders, another part of my niche is family founded businesses. So it's not
Mm.
exclusively women.
Yeah.
And I do have men on my books who have started up their own businesses, very
Great.
successful male entrepreneurs, who also recognize that sometimes you can just reclaim so much more time and build your confidence in your
Mhm.
business when you outsource to an expert something you know that they can probably do a lot quicker than you and perhaps with more ease.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you're fabulous at your job, and from the outset, as soon as as soon as we start speaking or you start talking to anyone, everyone can see that you're at the top of the game. And I don't think
Thank
there's
you,
anyone
darling.
doing what you're doing. And I love what I always love is the word boutique.
Yeah.
That the brand boutique, it just sets off. It's you. It's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
Um, we've spoken about the damage that can be done where someone might employ a copywriter to write their website. They
Mm.
do their own blogs and then they might have a social media manager doing their socials. And all of those things are fantastic. And I'm all for outsourcing.
Mhm.
My business depends on it. But you need to think about that brand voice as being the golden thread that runs through all of those touch point opportunities. And if you have someone who's written your website, for example, in a quite corporate sounding way,
Yeah.
and then your socials are very informal and you're probably somewhere in the middle, your clients aren't going to know
Who's who?
who who they're talking to. But
Mm.
also, brand voice is just as much about the voice of your target client as it is about you.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when I work with my clients and I build this brand voice for them after really getting to know them and their own language and personality and how to market their business, part of that project is also tuning into the pain points, the desires, the demographic
Mhm.
of their target client. So we're speaking to their target client in a language that's magnetic
Yeah.
so that they convert sales and also connect.
Absolutely. What would you say is your most interesting client that you've worked with so far?
Do I have to say you because I'm sitting opposite you?
Ah, no, you don't, but we know it is me,
You
but
are a
yes.
dream.
But I'm
um,
something so because I guess for me at the networking events, just throwing it back to those, there are jobs I didn't know existed, but there is
yeah,
a demand. So it's the same as I specialize in permanent makeup, and we were saying at the event, and I was talking, there are so many women out there that didn't know. I had to create that demand where I lived because
yeah.
that service was not actually known about. So it's about, I think what you've done is we all know that we need somebody to write the website because we can't do it. We all loved reading Pride and Prejudice, but not all of us went to university, so we need you, Fiona. So at school, so but what I mean is, for me, I just think it's just really interesting for you. You come in and you're just amazing. Yeah, you're amazing. And I'd love to know, what is your most interesting client that you've got? A job that you don't, that they've done that you never knew existed.
Oh, a job that I never knew existed. I think perhaps I'm going to answer a different question, which
Go
is
on.
probably really annoying for you.
Yeah,
Um,
I am
I
annoying.
think it's less about the thing that I find really interesting is less about a job being rare or
Yeah.
unusual. It's the point of interest for me is finding out more about what's led that founder to their current position where they are now.
Mm.
And for some, they've pivoted, like I
Yeah.
have. They've moved from one career to another, and that's fascinating. Um, and brand stories connect, brand
Mhm.
stories also sell. So I really work with my clients to find a way that they're comfortable talking about their own stories. So I guess the thing that I find really interesting about my clients is that own personal story, that point at which they decided to back themselves
Yeah.
and take this idea, take this dream, and build it into a business. And that's the bit that's so interesting for me.
Tell me a little bit more about how you started the right field.
Yeah. So my background's in education.
Mhm.
So I was that child who was always writing, creative writing, stories, writing my diary. I think now it's called journaling. It wasn't called journaling.
I always had a Jacqueline Wilson book in my hand.
Yeah, exactly. So
Tracy Beaker.
you look back and you remember with nostalgia your first exposure to stories, whether that's
Yeah.
the fairy tales that family members read to you when you were a child, or those early teen books that you were so engrossed in. So I've always had such a love for language and communication. My degree is in English and history.
Mhm.
And I decided when I was at uni that I wanted to do my postgraduate degree in teaching. So then I entered the world as an English teacher, and I was very young. I was 22 when I was teaching. I was teaching in a school in challenging circumstances,
Okay.
and I had to learn really, really fast. And it gave me the opportunity to flex my resilience really quickly. But those early days of teaching were when I had such a sense of mission and purpose behind what I was doing. I'd have children turn up into my English classroom who were living in areas where they had extreme vulnerabilities, I would say. There
Yeah.
were circumstances that were very difficult for them. There was a lot of gang affiliation for some of them, not all of them. And there were
Mhm.
some kids there who came from the most deprived areas of London. So I built my resilience, but it humbled me, and it also developed in me this real moral imperative behind what I was doing, which
Sure.
is giving people better life chances as a result
And
of
a
having a good
voice.
education.
Giving everyone a voice.
Exactly, because the limits of your language are the limits of your world.
Mm.
And again, I count myself really lucky that I have seen students who I taught in the classroom who have gone on to do such wonderful things, more qualified than me, probably earning lots more money than me. And
Oh.
that's something that's really special. So in my career, again, I was afforded opportunities really quickly,
Mhm.
and I was promoted at a young age. And I was an assistant head teacher before I was 30.
Wow. How was that
And
stress-wise?
yeah, I burnt myself out quick.
Yeah.
Um, and that sense of purpose and mission sometimes was to the detriment of my well-being, because you're probably the same. When you feel strongly about something, you push through and push through. And there were probably times retrospectively that I was pushing through in circumstances that weren't healthy.
Yeah.
But again, I'm grateful for what I learnt through that.
Absolutely.
So then I was in educational leadership as an assistant head teacher, leading on coaching and teachers' professional development,
Mm.
and as a deputy head teacher, leading on school culture, behaviour, attitudes, and so on. And then COVID hit, and I was still working, still going into work every day, looking after
You were a
the
key worker,
the kid.
babes.
Yeah,
You were the
going
ones that
in.
got the 25% discount
Yeah, we got a
for
discount.
haircuts.
Yeah, got a
Every
discount
salon
in
was
Morrison's.
yeah, exactly. Show your card, yeah.
Yeah. But I wasn't at home, and I'm not criticising anyone who works
No,
remotely during that
no,
time.
no.
I was going in and working, but I had more free time in my adult life than I've ever had because I went straight from uni into
Mm.
teaching. Um,
Isn't this COVID thing, this is the massive
yeah,
pivot in all of our lives.
yeah,
I mean, it's like relationships. People were getting
absolutely.
divorced.
Yeah,
It's like people were like, I don't want to do this job anymore. It was
yeah,
wild.
yeah. It's
Life was just like flipped upside down on its head.
exactly. And you look at the
Yeah,
catalysts for people in different ways,
sure.
because we were all left
Yeah.
with so much more space, so much more silence
Reflection.
than we've ever had. And
Hmm.
for some people, that was tough.
Facing the reality. And I
Exactly.
think work can actually be an escape for
Yeah.
so many of us. And it can be that monotonous, mundane, everyday job that we do. I mean, I love my job, but I mean, what I'm trying to say is it can mask sometimes so many
Yeah.
other things going on underneath,
You're
emotions,
right.
the way that we feel about. And when you strip back everything and you have to sit with those feelings and face that reality, it can be a really stark and harsh, slap in the face, really. And you can sometimes think, what on earth am I doing? And
Yeah.
some people have lost loved ones during that time as
Exactly.
well,
Yeah.
where it's also made them really rethink their lives.
Yeah. So we thrive in routine.
Yes.
Um, but sometimes we also hide in routine.
Mm,
And there we were with all of the spaces and the silences. And one of the positive things,
mhm.
that for me and a lot of people around me that I've noticed, people really tuned into their creativity. We couldn't go and get our highlights done on a Saturday. We weren't going
Yeah.
out at night. We
Mhm.
we were just left to sit, kind of
Paint each other
metaphorically
like
and
French
literally.
girls.
And somehow that brought us back to the more wholesome forms of joy that we have in our lives.
Yes.
And for me, that was creativity and writing.
You went back to that. You
Yeah,
went back to the Fiona, and the reason why you started to get into why the whole reason why you even became a teacher.
exactly. Yeah.
We
The
can lose
writing.
that.
Yeah. Um, so so I tuned back into that and then
I love that.
COVID then finished or did it? Who knows?
Mhm.
Um, and then I went back to kind of working in the new normal.
Yeah.
Um, Still really grateful for my career, and my career in teaching and educational leadership has given me
Mhm.
so many opportunities, and I've learnt so much, and I'm so grateful for that. But then I just had this niggling feeling that perhaps there was something more for me or different for me. And I'd always been someone who people had asked to write things, whether that's, could you write this letter of complaint for me? Or
Mm.
can you help me with my
Can
website?
you help me write a speech?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I've had plenty of
Yeah.
that, believe
Best
me.
man
Yeah, from my
speech.
yeah,
Yeah.
from my family.
Mm.
So then so more and more people, because I guess another knock on from COVID, people were starting their own ventures and leaning into
Yeah.
that entrepreneurial spirit. So people were asking me to help them with websites, for example.
Mm.
And it was the summer of, this sounds like a real story now. It was
Go.
the summer of 2022.
Mhm.
And I was helping a friend out with a website, and I was absolutely loving it. She's a great girl. She's in beauty. She was pivoting from one career to the next, like really investing in herself. And we were writing her website, and I was loving it. But at the same time as me loving it, I was going through quite a difficult time personally. So um, we were going through a round of IVF, and it wasn't the first one. And I was working on this website whilst going through the treatment for IVF,
Mhm.
and I was fine. But I was also conscious that it was July and I was about to have 6 weeks of unstructured time ahead of me. And if the IVF wasn't successful, as it hadn't been previously, I'd be in a situation where I could potentially be feeling very low, like I was before,
Of
and I'd
course.
have all of this unstructured time. So I wouldn't have that kind of work
Yeah.
routine to
Yeah.
hide behind
Yeah.
and go into autopilot. So I made a decision that if this round was going to be unsuccessful, that I would use that energy, that outcome, and shift it in some way and try and make it into a positive. And it was unsuccessful. And then I just set about teaching myself everything that I could about branding and business over the course
Mhm.
of 6 weeks. If this was a therapy conversation, you'd probably be telling me that it was a distraction to mask and
But
but
at the
you
same time,
it
what
got
do
me
we do,
through.
you know?
Yeah.
I think if you we don't focus on things and we have some sort of resilience to bring us through, you know, we can let ourselves get into a complete
Yeah.
mess. And I think it's credit to you that you have created something that's not only just so successful for yourself, but you're creating success in so many other females.
Yeah.
And for me, I know many other women will feel exactly the same way about you, that we look up to you and we look at you, you know, and I hold you so high in my heart.
Oh,
And yeah, you're an
thank
amazing
you.
lady.
But there's so many of us, Polly,
Yeah,
who have and we heard it in the panel that you spoke on with the 2 other
absolutely.
women as well. People talking about having that pivotal point
Sure.
where they're sitting in a moment or a time of adversity.
You go up or down, right?
Exactly. And you just make a decision
Yeah.
that you're going to A, push through this,
Mhm. Mhm.
and B, that you're going to shift this into something positive.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm so grateful that we learn a lot through our adversity. And I'm not saying, I'm not kind of doing the toxic positivity thing to say, oh, adversity is fine because we learn through it. It's hard
It
and it's
is.
shit.
And some of the adversity that we face, we shouldn't be fucking facing.
Yeah.
We really shouldn't,
Yeah.
you know. But we can't control everything in life.
Yeah.
But there are
That's a
some
hard
things that
lesson,
we
right?
yes, it is, absolutely. But there are some things we can control.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that's what it's about. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we can control our voice.
Exactly.
Mm. And
And
how people see us.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And some of us have more privilege than others.
Yeah.
Um, but aside from that, we also have free will to make decisions. And I made
Mhm.
a decision that I was going to back myself and I was going to build something and I was going to be creative. And it almost became something a little bit spiritual that I was kind of birthing this business. And through this, I was supporting other women
Yeah.
who were really kind of in analysis paralysis with their business, or
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
wanted to build something but didn't have the confidence to really show up and showcase how excellent their business is, or women who might be juggling all of the demands of the business and their family commitments, and they
Mm.
just don't have a moment for themselves. So just providing a service that gives them a little bit of ease in that
Mm.
difficulty. And if that's the only thing that I do, I'm happy with that, to give people a little bit of ease in their business journey. Um, so that's what brought me to what I'm doing now, and I absolutely love it.
Okay, so what advice would you give to somebody who's starting out their business? They haven't got a lot of capital, they've not got a lot of investment and money, you know, in the bank to put towards a brand voice copy from you. What services can you offer, or what advice can you offer somebody, and how to go about making their voice authentic if they're going to be doing it on their own?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd say don't let what you don't have prevent you from moving forward.
Hmm.
Start where you are, use what you've got, because you'd be surprised at how much you've got inside you already. And also, in the online world, for example, it is it's not easy. There are ways that you can set up a business and grow it gradually. So the first thing
Hmm.
I'd say is don't let that hold you back from starting, because you'll sit there and you'll always come up with reasons why you shouldn't start. Just do
Mm.
the thing.
Mm.
That's what differentiates the people who get shit done from the people who don't. They
Yeah.
just commit to action.
And I think showing up regularly as
Yeah.
well. And I think I've had somebody else on the podcast before, Jasmine, and she always says, just keep posting, just
Yeah.
keep, just keep going, because people are watching, okay? People are
Yeah.
looking. Sometimes you're not going to get a like on every post. You're not going to get that little love heart or whatever, but your people are looking, they're noticing, and having that, from start to finish, having your Instagram where the voice is completely unified. You've got that, I don't even know what the word is. Find it for me. What is it?
Consistency,
Yes, consistent.
continuity.
Yes. That's it.
When
I
I'm
know.
working
You're
with
like a walking
clients,
thesaurus.
I
What is
don't
it
know
like
about
being
that.
your friend? I bet
Probably
amazing.
boring.
No. I'd be like, what's the word? Yeah, she's got it.
So when I'm working with clients who are just starting out, we focus on the 3 V's:
Right.
visibility, values, and
Vodka.
voice. Sometimes
No,
we
voice.
need that too.
Don't go.
Yeah, definitely more
Sorry,
articulate after the vodka.
I'm joking. Go on.
So values are in the middle because
Yeah.
that's the beating heart of your brand, and also because if you stay aligned with your values, that why, that thing that drives you to keep you going,
Yeah.
then you'll continue to show up in the days that are really, really hard. And
Yeah.
also people connect with values. Some of my masterclasses talk specifically about values and how you can communicate them in a way that's lived, not laminated. So you can just show up and exemplify your values in the way that you talk about your business and your clients and your wins. The visibility, we've touched on a little bit already today, just showing up in a way that feels comfortable for you. Because if it's not comfortable for you,
Don't
you're not
bloody
going to do it. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Share what you're happy to share. When
Exactly.
it feels good and when it feels right.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need to decide what you're doing and do few things, but really well. And then the 3rd V isn't vodka, it's voice.
Yeah.
So even if you're not super confident in your written language and expression, don't be afraid to just keep it really, really simple. Strip it back. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
We don't have to use really extensive or complex vocabulary. We need to speak to our clients in a way
They can
that
understand.
they understand. So
And they can see you.
Exactly. So just kind of pause and consider and think about the conversations you have with your clients. What are the things that they frequently tell you? What are the things that you say that uplift them? What are those conversations that go really well?
Maybe write those down.
Exactly.
Make a record of what are making clients tick, what they're happy about,
Yeah.
and I think testimonials are always a
Oh, yeah.
great place to start
Yeah.
within anything within your business.
Absolutely.
Client feedback is the way to know that you're doing a great job, right?
Exactly. And we can use that content for days. Another category of content that I work on with my clients is frequently asked questions.
Yes.
So what the fuck?
Yeah.
Think about your frequently asked questions. What are your clients asking you all of the time? Come up with 8 to 10 questions.
Answer them.
Sit down, answer them. That will be content that keeps giving on those rainy inspiration days. You can make it into a blog. You can have it as a social media post. But also by having your FAQs front and center of your brand copy, it means that you're saving time because people can go straight to them. It really slims down the number of inquiries that you're getting. Well, you'll still get the inquiries, but people
They're
aren't
going straight
asking
for the jugular.
questions.
They're
Exactly.
not gonna be asking all the little
Yeah.
they're not going around the fluff.
Exactly.
They're like, I want to book in.
People are ready
They're
to
primed.
act. That's it. And if you're a little bit stuck on brand voice or you're not too sure what it's all about, on my website I've got a brand voice checklist, which is a free download, so that you can just download that, look at it,
Download it, people.
see what the elements are, and then that can support you on your journey. And I've also started creating digital tools for people because not everyone is in a position to invest in done for you copywriting
Sure.
right away. And I want as many people as possible to feel confident.
I love that. Thank you so much, Fiona.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I've loved it. I've loved it.